us from Stockholm.
Thank you, sir. Good evening.
First of all, are you in favor of giving benefits to UK citizens here in exchange for the same courtesy to the French who live in Britain?
Well, I think you have to be careful when you use this kind of negotiation, because you don't negotiate rights. So, of course, that would be interesting to negotiate a free access in both directions, actually, not only for the Britons living in France, but for the French and other European citizens living in the UK. So I'm in favor of this kind of negotiation, as we don't know exactly the way the Brexit will be in the future. Even if we have a negotiation, we have to wait for the decision of the High Court, the Parliament, and you have so many steps. So I think it's important to just to be careful that to make sure that the European citizens have the same rights in UK, but and of course for the Britons in France. But I'm not for a kind of associate citizenship. I think you have to be careful with that at the same time.
Explain associate citizenship.
Yes, I'm talking about that because in the European Parliament, Charles Goerens proposed that amendment, which will be discussed in a few weeks, about creating a specific associate citizenship for the British citizens living in Europe. And I think it's not the best way. I understand the situation, but you have to think that there are two important points in that situation. You have, of course, the rights of European citizens living in France, the rights of Britons living in France, and the French citizens living in UK. But you have also the future of the European project. If you just push all the possibilities in a kind of Europe a la carte, it would be very complex, and the European project will be threatened. So that's my doubts on that point.
All right, so no Europe à la carte, Christophe Primat, but from this report, we're sort of getting the sense that, this standoff that we saw between the UK Brexit minister and the man in charge of negotiating for Brussels, Commissioner Michel Barnier, that this is all just a bit of theater and that there really is negotiation going on behind the scenes.
Yes, you have a lot of negotiation. And actually in the parliament, I sit in a specific committee which was created in July. And this committee focuses on the consequences of the vote on the Brexit in Europe. So we had some different hearings, and we tried to understand what kind of consequences, and you have a lot of things to solve. So that's why it's still a long-term negotiation. And the point is that this negotiation has to be tackled in a very specific way, because we have the future of the European project which is at stake. Because what will come after the Brexit if we don't try to solve all these kind of problems and situations? But at the same time, people realize that all the kinds of things that European projects brought to the citizenship in Europe, and that's a good point.
We saw outside the UK Parliament this Wednesday several hundred protesters who putting pressure on lawmakers, saying we voted for Brexit, we want a hard Brexit. There you see the images there from that demonstration a little bit earlier on. What's your prediction on that score, Christophe Primat? Just how hard a Brexit will it be from what you've seen from negotiations so far?
So I think that's a problem with the parliamentary debate and the referendum debate. That's my concern about that is that you have an opposition between the European, the parliamentary way and the referendum way, and that shouldn't be in that way. Actually, I think the process was not clear. Has David Cameron just decided a referendum? But actually, when you try to decide a referendum, you have to have a debate in the parliament and maybe a vote before the referendum. So now we try to get back to the parliamentary way, and I think that's, if you have a contradiction between both ways, it could be very difficult in the end. And I think I'm worried about that, because in the context of populist voices, I think we have to make sure that the voice of people is also respected. So I think that if the parliament has to decide something, it has to decide on the options of Brexit and not on the vote itself, because it's already voted. If you vote and people and the government and the parliament do not take care of the consequences, then it's a problem. So I think that's a very democratic problem that we have to take into account.
All right, Christophe Primat, many thanks for joining us there from Stockholm. Christophe Primat, member of the French Parliament, representing the French abroad. Stay with us. More to come. We'll have more news plus the day's sports and business. You're watching France 24.